What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the workshop. Now in this video we're going to make some more jigs, clamping aids and tools that are essential to every workshop and easy to make and extremely accurate. So this is going to be a follow-on video from the first one I made, which was the 5 woodworking jigs that were easy to make and essential to every workshop. So go back and watch that first because you'll need to see how we made the shooting board. We're going to make upgrades to the shooting board in this video, add an extra couple of jigs to it, and then we make a few other tools that you guys can add to your workshop that are easy to make as well. So go back and watch that first. I'll link that up here, and once you've done that, come back. For everybody else, we'll crack on and we will start with the shooting board. So let's do that. Okay, this is the shooting board that we've made, and like I say, if you haven't seen how we made this, go back, watch the first video, come back, and then this will all make sense. But it was really easy to make. It's extremely accurate and it takes half an hour, you'll have it together. It's just made from plywood and it works really well. So we made a couple of attachments for it. We're going to make a few more attachments for it in this video. So the first thing I want to show you, and if you're subscribed to this channel already, you've probably seen me point this out in a vlog already, but I thought I'd add it to this video because it makes sense to be here. So we can turn our shooting board into a nice simple planing board. This is a 3/4 inch plywood fence, or 18 millimeters, and all we need to do is add either a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch plywood sheet to the top of our shooting board, and now we have a nice planing board. So if you're dimensioning timber, you're smoothing something, you're flattening something, it's nice and stable, it's resting against your fence, and it sits over the top of your fence, so you don't have to worry about banging into your fence. So it's just a nice simple idea, and because we have 2 hooks on this shooting board and it clips to our tool well, we can now use it as a Japanese style as well. So if you have Japanese hand planes and you want to pull them towards you, not a problem. Like I say, you can pull Western planes towards you as well. That's not an issue, it works both ways. So there you go, that's just a little tip. Skinny your sheet of plywood, put it up against that, and you can always shim this up if you want to do veneers as well. So you could take a 1/2 inch, or you could take a 1/4 inch, you could shim it up a small bit so it's just below your fence, and then you can do really fine veneers on top of this that are still held by your fence. So nice and simple. So let's rock on. Now we want to look at miters. So we built a miter jig for our shooting board in the last video. It was this guy here. So again, exactly cut to 45 degrees, perfectly straight edge that goes against our fence. We drilled a hole in it so we can clamp it, and it locks to our fence. So if we want to shave miters, we can do. So if we take a miter piece like this, and that's all locked down, we can get our low angle jack plane, which works well with our shooting board, and we can make sure they are perfect miters. That's all well and good. But what if we want to make a box? So if you wanted to make a box, something like this guy here, obviously you have long miters on the side, and this jig is not going to help. So this is the problem we're going to run into. Obviously our plane is not tall enough to do this, so we need to turn this guy on edge. So we need to build a miter jig to go and cut this miter exactly at 45. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so let's look at what we need to do, and I've already made a start on this because a lot of the stuff is pretty simple. So just for expediency and this video not being an hour long, I've made a start. So I have a board here already cut. It's a size. So make sure that you get a nice piece of plywood. This is 1/2 inch ply. It's not an expensive plywood. It's just it's an ordinary grey plywood. It's just what I happen to have in the shop to build this jig. So that's what I'm using. I've put a 45-degree miter on the edge, so that will sit on our shooting board like that. Now you will make this to suit the size of your shooting board. You won't want to make it too much longer than this. This is roughly about 9 inches. It's nearly exactly 9 inches. So depending on the height and size of box that you're going to make, you're not going to make it much more than 9 inches. If you're making a bigger box, obviously make your jig that much bigger. But so we've mitered the edge on it. That's going to sit there. Now I've cut another piece at 45. That's going to sit under it just like that. So we want to glue and screw this up first. This will be the first thing we're going to do. And we're going to place, you guys can see under it there on the camera, you can just about. So take our square, take off the ruler off it, and use that to make sure that you're exactly at 45 degrees to your top. We're going to assemble it on our shooting board itself, so we're making sure that we're exactly 45 degrees to this, okay? That's the important thing. So the first thing we want to do is get this side on, glued and screwed, make sure we're exactly 45 degrees. Then we need to put on the other side, which will be at 45 as well. I haven't this fully cut to size yet, so hopefully it'll stay together in my hand here. So this is our other piece, and we're going to leave that sit slightly proud. About half an inch would be plenty, so about 15 mil, 10 to 15 mil, and that's going to act as our fence. That will go up against our other fence, which we're going to clamp this jig to, and this will act as a fence for our piece that we're keeping at 45 degrees. So we need to start assembling this thing now. We'll put another piece in the middle, and then we're going to make a piece to go on the back that will hook on to our shooting board. It'll all make sense as I begin to assemble this thing now, so I'm going to go do that. Right, so first thing I want to do, like I said, is get this piece attached and make sure we're exactly 45 degrees. Okay, let's get this thing assembled, and I've just glued on the edge here. Get this guy lined up. I'm going to build it on top of our shooting board itself, so hopefully I'll be able to hold this steady while I get a screw in it. So again, I have my square underneath, and I'm just checking to be 100% that that is 45, and that looks pretty good there. So let's lock this first screw home. Just like that. Okay, so that's our first piece on, and you can see the square is in there, and we're exactly at 45 degrees. So everything is good to go. Let's progress from here. Okay, now that we have this side on, we've checked everything is 45 degrees, everything is happy. So we want to put on our other side now. So this side is slightly oversized. So I'm just going to set that in against the fence, put this piece up to it. We can pull it back. We only want a fairly small fence actually, so about 5 mil or a little over will do. Let me just hold that up against it. And at this point we want to check and make sure that everything is square. So we have a perfect straight line along here which we squared our fence against, if you remember. So now when I put this jig together up against the fence, I want to make sure that this line is exactly in line with this, and it is. If that's not the case, then obviously it'll be skewed and you'll be putting a miter in at an angle. It'll be 45 on its face, but you'll be angling it back in the way, so your joints just will not go together. It'll be all off, it'll be all over the place. So just make sure as you're assembling this that everything is nice and straight, that the front line of this lines up perfectly with the edge of your shooting board here. So once that's the case, we're good to go, and then we can mark this guy. So I just want to nip him off there. We want to cut it there, and then I'm going to mark it at the back. I'll show you. So just in at the back then, I'm going to mark it right here at the edge of my shooting board. I'm going to cut a straight line up here then. So that's exactly where I want to be. So I want to stop my my piece right in line with the edge of this, because I'm going to put an overhang that clips onto the back of our board. So let's get this fella cut, let's get him screwed on, and then we can make the rest of it. Okay, again, I have everything lined up. I have my square underneath, making sure we're exactly at 45. I have a line drawn on this, exactly the middle of this where it needs to go, and just pre-drilled it and countersunk the holes. So I'm going to line everything up and get screws in this now, and we should be good to go. So let me screw this together, and I'll get back to you. Okay guys, here is our jig. It's all made up. I've just added the back piece, so that just catches the back of our shooting board here, and I've just added a brace piece atop just to keep it all rigid and straightened up. I've also drilled a hole here for my clamp. So it's nice and simple. Up against your fence, against the back of your shooting board, Send through your clamp through the hole. So just drill the hole to suit whatever clamp you intend on using, and then clamp it against your fence. Just like that, nice and simple. There we go, just like that. Now, the proof is in the pudding, so let's test this thing out. It looks pretty good for our second piece. So again, the piece just goes on here at 45, up tight to your fence, and then work your miters back until you're happy with them. So. Okay, looks like we've taken off enough. Let's check them out. Okay guys, there we go. Now these two miters were completely cut on that shooting board, on the jig. So I went from square edge to mitered edge completely on the thing. I didn't film the whole thing because I'd be there for all day if I did. But there you go, perfectly mitered. And we are exactly at 90 degrees. So if you're going building your box there now, that is a jig to get you perfectly mitered corners. So we are 100% at 90. Hopefully the camera can see that there now. So they're pretty tight. I would be more than happy with that. There we go. Okay guys, that is our shooting board. So just to recap, it is a shooting board. Add a little piece of plywood. It is now a planing board, both directions if you have a tool well. There is your miter jig. So if your miters for like picture frame miters, that kind of thing, that guy will clamp on there. You can do your 45s that way on your flat piece. If you want to build a box and do long pieces like this, no problem, build this jig. So again, 45 degrees, nice and flat, 45 degree fence, leave that one sit proud. 5 to 10 mil is plenty. Just ensure you keep checking with your square and level it off the top of your shooting board, because that's what it's working off. So make sure it's 45 degrees to this top, and a little hook on the back, hole here to clamp it to your fence, and now you have a perfect jig for making box miters. And as you've seen from these two pieces of plywood, which were completely cut on this jig with the hand plane, with this low angle jack plane, we have lovely mitered edges. Everything is square and true. So it's nice and simple to put together. It's just a little bit technical. Take your time, make sure everything is square true. Everything is exactly 45 degrees. Spend a bit of time to make sure everything is square with your fence, square with your front here, and you will be on the ball. So there you go. That is a shooting board that can do so many things now, and everything is detachable. So let's crack on to the next jig. Okay, now that we have a shooting board that can do box miters and picture frame miters, let's build clamping cauls, I believe they're called, or a clamping jig that can clamp miters. So nice and simple. We're going to make this from 2x4. It's a very simple jig to make. We're going to make 4 of them. I have 2 made already, so we'll make 2 more. And you can use these with a ratchet strap to clamp your entire picture frame. So you can buy jigs with straps built into them. Don't bother, just get yourself a bit of 2x4. If you have a ratchet strap at home, you already have the jig, you just need to make it. So let's look at how we make this jig. It's very simple. Okay guys, I'm going to make some of these clamping cauls. I think they're called cauls anyway, they're for miters. So we have 2 of them made already, just numbered them 3 and 4. So I like to number the piece that I took out to always go back with the piece that it was cut from. So there's number 3 and 3, 4 and 4. We're going to make number 1 and 2 now. So these are 200 millimeters long, so 8 inches. We're going to cut them a little bit longer so that it's easier to cut the miters on a miter saw, so our fingers are not near the blade. So we're going to measure the total length of this will be 250 millimeters. So you can say 10 inches if you wanted. We want to be half of that, which is 35, so 12 and a half. 125 mil. So 250 mil, 125 mil, right there. These are 2x4s or 4x2, so they're 95 millimeters in thickness, so 47 and a half. So just mark the dead center of it. And we want to be fairly accurate with that point. So just get your point, and we're going to draw 45 through that either side. So make sure Stab a little hole with your pencil, always helps. So you can put the pencil in it, put your ruler up against it, your square I should say, draw a 45 through that. Again, drop your pencil into the little hole you punctured and draw a 45 that way. Square it across here, we can chop that fella on the miter saw. Do the same thing again. Okay, let's chop these on the miter saw first. Okay, next we're going to drill a hole straight through this with a 25mm or inch bit, and make sure we drill that where we marked our hole. So you have a center punch, use a center punch, and like I say, make sure that those two 45s go exactly through the center of it. That's the important part. So let's drill this out. Okay, now we're going to chop this on the miter saw, and I'll explain this because there's no point in me trying to explain what I'm doing. I'm going to lose my fingers that way. So again, make sure that your miter saw is cutting exactly at 45 degrees. So you need to tune the thing up, or just do a couple of test cuts first. Make sure they're exactly 45 and that they both add up to 90. So we're going to 45 this way, and then 45 back this way. And this Bosch saw is deadly accurate, and it has indentations and locks up exactly 45 on both sides. Now we want to make sure that our blade is dead center of our two cuts. So we have our lines marked, so make sure our blade is dead center on top of those lines for the both of the cuts. We don't want to be slightly to one side on one side and slightly to the other side on the other. That's no good. So we're going to line these up perfectly and make our cuts. Nice and simple. Let's do it. Okay, there we go. We have them all nicely cut up there. Everything is marked. Again, we'll just be extra careful just that you cut on them lines exactly both sides so that everything lines up. It doesn't matter if you cut slightly into either side. That's going to happen on the miter saw. Still perfectly fine. So then just get your miter, so your picture frame or whatever you want to clamp together, glue up, sit it in there, clamp that piece against it, take our clamp and just lock everything home. Unbelievably solid, nice and simple. And if you want to do a picture frame and you want to clamp all four corners, that's not a problem. Just put one of these on all four corners, get a ratchet strap, ratchet around them all. If you want, you could knock the corners off these at 45 either side. That's not a problem. You can do that. It's not necessary to do that. It might make the clamping a little bit easier and make that belt sit a little bit better. It will sit on the 90-degree corners as well, but if you want to just knock them off at 45, absolutely feel free to go ahead and do that. But I'll leave that decision up to you. I just wanted to show you how to make these guys. So now we have four of them. Like I say, you don't have to go buy that Pacific jig with the ratchet strap attached to it. You already have it if you have a ratchet strap and a bit of 2x4 or 4x2. Happy days. Okay, now we have a load of jigs. Nothing can stop us now. We have a load of different ways of clamping from both this video and the last video. So let's make some tools. And one of the handiest tools to have in your workshop, one of the simplest things to make are push sticks. These will probably come with most of your machines. Some of your machines won't have them. Unbelievably valuable bits of kit to save your hands, to keep you safe, especially if you use a table saw, even a router table, a planer thicknesser, jointer planer, your bandsaw, your pillar drill, anything that you want to hold stuff where you're a little bit unsure, you want to keep everything nice and stable and pinned and keep your hands away from them. Push sticks are essential, and there's loads of different ones you can make, loads of different types, ones specific to table saws and ones that are more general purpose that will work with everything, like these ones. And these are the ones we're going to make today. And once you make one, you have a template to make as many as you want. So make a blast of these and just leave them all over your shop. Leave one on every single machine and tool that you have. There'll always be one to hand, so you won't ever take the chance. And it's handy for things like the bandsaw when you're pushing stuff through, or you want to knock little blocks away from the blade without putting your fingers in there. So these things are the job, and they're simple to make. So let's do it. Right, we're going to make it out of 3/4 ply because it's just a nice thickness in your hand, and it's good and sturdy and strong. Now, I'm getting down to one of my last pieces of 3/4 ply. This lockdown is I'm running out of resources. So this is my last piece, so it's going to have to come out of this so I can show you how to build it. But I think it's going to be enough, so we should be good to go. So again, you want to set the angle to suit your hand, make it big enough to suit your hand. So I'm not going to give you any dimensions on this. It's roughly, just if you really want to know, 17 inches in length, so 430 millimeters. So that's the length on it. You can make them as long as you want to suit you, whatever, make the handle as big enough to suit you in your hand. And if you want to set the angle, no problem. If you have a sliding miter bevel, just leave it nice and loose and just drop it onto the table. Now, whatever feels good in your hand, that is the correct angle. So you can go to any one of your machines, just get your sliding bevel and just drop it onto the machine and say, right about there, that feels good. That suits my height, it's my angle, it's where I feel happy that I can push that through. There we go, nice and simple, lock it down. And there is your push stick already in your hand. Let's mark it out. Okay, so this is the piece of material that we have, and it's just about enough, I'd say, to get a push stick out of. So happy days, we can make the video. So like I say, we have our angle set on this, so just going to get that in line somewhere where I can get it. So this will be my handle. So my handle is going to be slightly wider than this. So all I really want is this angle here. And my handle is going to be slightly wider, so I can just roughly follow that one there. I'll be cutting this roughly out in the bandsaw anyway, and shaping it so it feels comfortable in hand. So then we just want to make it round the head over, drop down to a point, cut that back slightly so we have a flat bit then, and then a bit to grab our material. So something like that, and I want to make sure that's 90 degrees, so we don't want to be too rough. We don't want to be too rough, so just take our square and we can straight edge that guy there. Nice and simple. Okay, I've just redrawn the head in blue marker there. I had the angle slightly wrong. So taking it in hand, roughly keeping this handle parallel with the bench, just using my angle on my sliding bevel again because it's two straight edges there, and I just drew a straight line straight across here, and that is where I want to be. So my angle was way too steep when I first drew it, so that's how we set it. So I'm going to keep this handle parallel to my bench. That's what I'm going to be pushing through, and then obviously this line needs to be parallel to this line. It doesn't have to be exact, we're not going for exact here, but if it is, it'll make it easier to use. So that's where we want to be. Hopefully that makes sense. You'll see it when we cut it out. Okay, there is one push stick cut out. Now all we do is make this feel good in hand. Take a foil, just knock off all the burr, all the splinters, shape everything up, and then we can hit it with some sandpaper. Just want to round off them hard edges so that feels good in your hand. Okay, I'm just going to take a round foil and just put a little finger choil here. Why not? It's our push stick, let's make it comfortable. You know, if you could do this on a spindle sander as well, but right, there we go. One simple push stick, all sanded up, comfortable in hand, little finger choil here, so it's nice to grip. Drill a hole in the back just to hang it up or stick a lanyard on it, and very, very simple. Again, make yourself a blast of these. Once you've made one, you have a template to make as many as you want. Ideal for sliding this through a table saw. Now, I don't have a table saw at the minute. I sold my table saw, but you get the idea. So you can see, you can use this with a bandsaw, router table, planar thicknesser, whatever you need to hold down. You can use two of them together, pushed against the fence, one to keep it pushed down and to slide it through. Just if there's anything you're unsure of, you want to keep your hands away from, especially thin pieces where you could come close to that blade, push sticks are the way to go. And very, very simple to make. You don't need to buy your own. There's also this type you can make. Again, it's just a handle, hook on the back. You make it long so that it keeps the piece pressed down, so you can put force to push and force to push down, and just drive that on through your table saw. Again, it'll help with kickback. If something gets pinned against the fence, at least your hand is not going to get pulled into the blade and you have force keeping that piece down. So there again, nice and simple, make it to suit your hand. So yeah, like I say, make it to suit your hand, make it to suit your height, make it long enough to suit you. It will be your push stick. Use a sliding bevel to set the angle so that it feels nice and comfortable as soon as you drop it onto the table, onto your table saw, router table, whatever you're using it with. The angle will be right for you and your height, and you can run it on through. Super simple, super easy, and why not have a load of them in your shop? Right, there we go. We now have more jigs and clamping aids than we could shake a push stick at, and we have plenty of push sticks too. So there we go. Now, if you're new here or a recent subscriber, or maybe you haven't seen all the videos, I've now at this point built loads of different tools for your workshop, such as this miniature hand tool workbench. It's ideal if you don't have much space and you're looking for somewhere to do hand tool woodworking. This is all the space you need. And also, if you want to raise the work that you're working on up nice and high, you could build this. It's a walnut and maple top with bench dogs in it. There you go. I also have a dog in the vise. The vise is a little bit big, but you can make a smaller one. Ash frame. I have an entire build series on this. It's nice and heavy, and you can clamp it to your woodworking bench. And we have this, a table for your pillar drill with removable sliding center. So these are just mitered both sides. As this wears out, you can just slide in your new piece, complete with fence. I have a complete build on this. So again, check that out. Router table, made from plywood, extremely strong fence, nice and big, dust extraction, easy to fit the Triton dual action plunge router to it. Everything is nice accessible here. You can move your router up and down. It's nicely two-hand, super simple to bake, super accurate, and why not have a router table for the price of a sheet of plywood? 2x4 workbench, extremely strong, easy to make, a nice little bit of joinery in it, but super simple, extremely cheap, a replica of my Paul Sellers main workbench there. So entire build on that one as well, and you get yourself an unbelievably solid workbench that you can put a lathe on, you can put anything on. You can use it as your main workbench, nice and simple. Downdraft table, made from plywood, again, super simple to make, one of my recent builds, extremely handy as a sanding station to pull all that dust away from you. So any dust that the orbital sander kicks out, it's getting pulled down into the table and away into the dust extractor and not get kicked up in your face, even though you are wearing a dust mask. This thing is unbelievably handy just to have a downdraft. Hand tools cabinet, complete with plain till, dehumidifier, keeps your tools nice, little light in them so you can display them, and keeps everything nice and dry and rust free. Simple to build, made it out of an old piece of furniture, but there's no reason why you couldn't make it out of plywood. So there we go. So there we go, guys. Enough stuff to kit out your entire workshop. Videos on them all, so knock yourselves out. All of it is pretty cheap and easy to make. Some of it not so fancy and simple, some of it a little bit more fancy, but all of it is pretty solid, pretty accurate and pretty good. So if you're new here, please think about subscribing, and for everybody else, if you want to hit the thumbs up button if this has been helpful, that would help me a lot. Comments and questions, just leave them below. I always get back to people, so if there's anything you want to know, anything you think needs to be improved, or any ideas you have, be sure and stick them in the comments below. I'm always interested to hear your guys' opinion on things as well. So that's it, guys. I'm going to get out of here now, so yeah, take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.